Hey, good evening, folks. It's Adam Wason, Public Works Director for the City of Bloomington. I've got about 5:29 on my clock right now. This is the regularly scheduled Board of Public Works meeting for April 9th, 2024. We did not have a work session yesterday as per usual in advance of the normal regular meeting. This will be the first hearing for all items on the agenda this evening. And if you are on the Zoom link for the meeting this evening, we'll have opportunities for public comment in both the petitions and remonstrances section for anything that's not on the agenda. And then each individual agenda item will also have opportunities for public comment. For those using the Zoom link, you can do so with a raised hand function, and we can unmute you when it's time for comment, or you can add your public comment via the chat, and we can get that into the official city record as well. Otherwise, it's 5:30, and I will turn it over to Kyla Cox-Deckard, Board President for the Board of Public Works.
Thank you. I call to order this regular meeting of the Board of Public Works this Tuesday, April 9th of 2024. First up, we have messages from board members. Do we have any messages from the board this evening?
Just one quick one for me. I do have a commitment this evening, and I'll be needing to leave about 5 till.
Okay, thanks. I would just extend my thanks to everyone who was working yesterday afternoon. I know we had a major celestial event, and there was a lot of planning and preparation ahead of that event, and I know a lot of work went into the day of activities. So just want to extend my thanks to, of course, the departments within Public Works, but also everyone at the city who worked very hard to make sure we had a pleasant day. Next up, we have petitions and remonstrances. If you have a public comment on something that is not on the agenda this evening, now is the opportunity to make that comment. If you are joining us on Zoom and have a comment about something not on the agenda, you're welcome to use the raised hand function or the chat function to let us know. If you're in the room and would like to make a public comment on something not on the agenda, you're welcome to approach the microphone. Seeing none. Next is the consent agenda. Under the consent agenda, we have the approval of minutes for March 26th of 2024. Amendment number 1 to on-call engineering services contract with Rundell Ernstberger Associates. Resolution 2024-021, new mobile vendor, Rita's Ice. Resolution 2024-016, renew mobile vendor, Blooming Bowls. Resolution 2024-017, Arts Fair on the Square. Resolution 2024-18, Monroe County History Center Outdoor Concert. Resolution 2024-20, Declaration of Surplus Fleet Vehicles and Equipment. Renew contract with C.E. Hughes for pavement marking and approval of payroll. Do we have any items that need to be removed from the consent agenda this evening? Do we have any public comments on anything within the consent agenda this evening?
I have nothing else.
Okay. Seeing none, is there a motion on the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda for tonight's meeting, April 9, 2024.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I will call the roll. Carone?
Aye.
Roach?
Aye.
Cox-Deckard, aye. Motion passes. Next, we have new business. First, under new business, we have abatement services contract with B&L Hazard EcoClean, LLC.
Hi, my name is Joe Stong. I'm one of the compliance officers for HAND, Housing and Neighborhood Development with the city. I'm hoping to gain approval of the contracts before you. Did you say the first one was the BioClean?
Yeah, B&L
Okay.
Hazard.
These contracts are awarded annually for the abatement services at HAND, and this is a new vendor, but we're hoping to have them get on board.
Any questions from the board on this item?
Is this the first year that you've gone with 2 vendors rather than just one?
No, we've done that for the last couple of years.
Okay.
And it's working out okay. It's a request for quotes as opposed to a request for sorry, I can't remember. It's a different setup so that we can actually renew the contract after a year and not have to come before the board each time.
Okay, thanks.
And so this is this, it says this is the first contract with B&L Hazard EcoClean. Does that mean it's the first time the city has entered into a contract, or this is just the first contract we've had, like, the first year of a contract we've had in this recent time?
It's both, I guess. It's the first, they're a new vendor. We reached out to them after we've had a lot of bigger cleanups in the last few years, a lot of which involved a lot of biohazards, including needles and such, and different things that are more hazardous than our typical contractors want to handle. So it was a nice thing to find somebody that's willing to do this sort of cleanup. And they're a new vendor, and we reached out to them, and they were, so it's the first time they've had a contract with the city, and it's first time with us.
And they're out of Jasonville, is that right?
The whole company might be, but the people here in town are a women-owned venture. I'm sorry, I don't have their names in front of me. But it's a woman-owned local place. They do have other entities in other areas, yeah. And I've only dealt with the ones here in town, so I don't know about.
Okay, great. Any other questions on this item? Any public comments on this item?
I have no comment on Zoom.
Okay. Seeing none, is there a motion?
I move that we approve the abatement services contract with B&L Hazard EcoClean LLC.
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second. I will call the roll. Corone?
Aye.
Roach?
Aye.
Cox-Deckard, aye. Motion passes. Next up is abatement services contract with 4U Lawn and Landscape.
Same sort of thing. Second contractor to be included on the request for quotes. This is a contractor that's been worked for the city for some time and has been quite professional, and we've appreciated his services.
Any questions from the board on this contract? Any public comments on this item?
I have no comment on Zoom.
All right, seeing none, is there a motion?
I move that we approve the abatement services contract with 4U Lawn and Landscape.
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second. I will call the roll. Corone?
Aye.
Roach?
Aye.
Cox-Deckard, aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks. Next up is approved change order package number 2 for the Hopewell East project.
Good evening, Roy Aiton with the City Engineering Department. This is part of the Hopewell East redevelopment project through the Redevelopment Commission. The project was awarded milestone contractors June 21st, 2023 at the Board of Public Works in the amount of $13,373,284.90. The board approved change order package number 1 on December 19, 2023 for not to exceed amount, final not to exceed amount of $13,537,910.09. This package of change orders include the following change orders, totaling in addition to the project of $14,599.44 of the contract for a final not to exceed amount of $13,552,509.53. The 5 change orders that are included in the package, change order number 9 is for some additional pavement markings that were quantities that were not enough in the amount of $1,396. Change order number 10 was for an addition of $3,100, and that was for some additional demolition work that was required on the project. Change order number 12 was for some additional rock excavation for the cistern tank that was installed in the new park for an amount of $12,358. Change order 13 was for a credit of $5,200, and that was a change that we made with the stain on the seating in the park. And change order number 14 is for some changes that were required at the Centerstone Center in the amount of $2,945.44, and that was just some adjustments to their downspouts and drainage.
Thank you. Questions on this item?
Question on the general contract as a whole. What is this particular contractor? What was the original contract? Is it for the public spaces? Is it for the streets? Are they the master developer? What?
For this project here is part of the hospital redevelopment project through the redevelopment commission. This is an infrastructure project. It's called Hopewell East. So it's a general contractor, Milestone Contractors, that was awarded by the board.
The infrastructure work.
Construction work. That's correct. Yes.
Just to clarify, James, this is going to be more of the road, stormwater type construction activities, general site infrastructure activities, nothing to do with actual development or housing or redevelopment of any of the current buildings on the site.
Any other questions from the board on this item? Any public comments on this item?
I have nothing on Zoom.
All right. Seeing none, is there a motion?
I move that we approve the change order package number 2 for the Hopewell East project.
Second?
All right, I will call the roll. Corone?
Aye.
Roach?
Aye.
Cox-Deckard, aye. Motion passes. Next up is approved change order number 4 for the Jackson Creek Trail Phase 2 project.
Once again, Roy Aiton with City Engineering. This is our Jackson Creek Trail Phase 2 project, started early 2020. We're still wrapping up a few of the items on the project. The project was awarded to Milestone Contractors in February 2021 in the amount of $2,429,280. During the punch walk for the project, the city requested some changes to the fencing at the intersection of the path and Roar Road, the southernmost terminus of the project. The change order will add $2,271.70 to the project for a final contract amount of $2,550,258.05.
Questions from the board on this item?
Roy, this probably doesn't have anything to do with the change order, but I'm going to put you on the spot. The utility poles and the guy wires in the trail. I'm getting a lot to laugh.
Anticipate this question.
What's the future for those?
So we were working with Duke Energy to have that. There's a few poles. I think there's 5 poles on the southern end of the trail, and there's 1 pole still remaining on High Street with the down guys. We're working with Duke Energy. Duke Energy's reluctant to this point to move those poles until there is a case that's going through the Supreme Court of Indiana right now. So they're waiting for how that case is resolved before they'll move to get these poles resolved, and we can move forward with it. So we have them barricaded right now. We're patiently waiting for that case.
All right, thanks for your work.
By patient, he means several years, and it's been ongoing. Yeah, I mentioned, you heard the staff chuckle. We've been trying to work on this issue for many years, and I just had another meeting with some Duke reps the other day on this, so hopeful we get somewhere with it soon.
Just a question. Can you clarify in the staff report, there's 2 sentences that begin with the change order will add in 2 different amounts, and I just want to make sure we're all coming to the final total.
Yes, there was an error in the staff report. So I think that you're looking at the change order will add $79,000. That's to be struck. That was something that was left over from a previous staff report, so that was my fault. This change order is actually in the amount of $2,271.17.
And that this change order of 2,271 will add to and will land on a final contract amount of the 2,550.
I'll have to double check the math on that, whether or not, I think that $2,550,000 might be the error number, and the original number for the contract, 249.
It gets a little clearer on the justification form. It starts with the original contract amount of $2,429,280, and then previous change orders are listed there. And then change order number 4, which is what's before us right now.
So by looking at that, I do read that the 2271 means that we end up at 2,550, 285.
That's correct, yeah. That should be correct on the authorization amount. I apologize for
Okay.
the errors in the staff report.
No problem, just want to make sure we're on the same page. Thank you.
Any other questions on this item? All right, any public comment on this item?
I have nothing on Zoom.
Okay. Seeing none, is there a motion?
I move that we approve change order number 4 for the Jackson Creek Trail Phase 2 project.
Second?
All right, we've got a motion and a second. I will call the roll. Corone?
Aye.
Roach?
Aye.
Cox Deckard, aye. Motion passes. Thanks. Next up is Resolution 2024-15, right-of-way encroachment agreement for Grease Interceptor at 405 East 4th Street.
Hi, Maria McCormick from Engineering. This is a petition for an encroachment in the right-of-way at 405 East 4th Street. This was an address that we had a previous encroachment petition for. At that time, they thought this was going to be able to go into the back of the building. They since learned that it can't. So this grease interceptor will be in the ground underneath the front panel of the ramp that we approved back in January. So this is just a secondary encroachment agreement so that we have this covered as well.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Any public comments on this item?
I see nothing on Zoom.
Okay. Seeing none, is there a motion?
I move that we approve Resolution 2024-015, the right-of-way encroachment agreement for the Grease Interceptor at 405 East 4th Street.
Second?
All right, I will call the roll. Corone?
Aye.
Roach?
Aye.
Cox Deckard, aye. Motion passes. Next is acceptance of a public improvement bond for Ralston subdivision.
This is a request for acceptance of a public improvement bond amount. This is for a subdivision done by Suzanne Young on Ralston Drive. It's a single lot that was subdivided into 4 sublots or new lots. So the public improvement bond is for the sidewalks that are required as part of the UDO requirements when a lot is subdivided. You have to bring certain public improvements up to current UDO standards. So the estimate is for $76,000 for the sidewalks for the 4 lots. It's only for sidewalks. It does not include driveway cuts or any storm infrastructure. And we're just asking for your approval. Once you approve it, we'll get the public improvement bond, and then they will start on the public improvements.
Thank you. Questions from the board on this item?
I guess just a quick question, curiosity, you said sidewalks but no or driveway cuts. So if driveway cuts are eventually needed, what happens then?
So what happens then is These will that will be accepted right-of-way then. So when she sells the subdivided lots and they go to build something, they will get a right-of-way use permit and build the driveway cuts at that point in time. They didn't want to put driveway cuts in, sell the lots, and have the driveways be in the wrong locations. And since the driveways aren't required as part of the UDO requirements, we didn't require them. We just required the sidewalks for the public improvements.
Okay, thank you.
So they're just planning on selling the lots, they're not developing the lots?
That is my understanding as of right now. She plans on selling the lots.
Okay. And this is an area where sidewalks are not necessarily present in all parts of the
There are
neighborhood?
some sidewalks in this area. There has been some more recent redevelopment, so there are some, for lack of better words, some sidewalks to nowhere in that area. This is 4 lots, it's a corner, so there will be significant sidewalk. I do believe that there is sidewalk continuing to the west towards Rockport Road.
Yeah.
So there will be some continuity to the sidewalks in that area.
Yeah, that was going to be my question, is just the sidewalk that's placed in this block would be one that would, fit the existing sidewalk that goes to the west, and then, may not reach another sidewalk going to the north, if that's,
Right.
yeah, the orientation, but there would be some sidewalks started there for
Yes.
potential future.
Potential future development, yes.
Okay.
But because the subdivision, secondary plats trigger UDO required public improvements, this triggered the sidewalk requirement.
Yeah, which it's good to have a sidewalk
Yes,
placed.
yes.
So it's good to see that is being constructed. Any other questions on this item?
None.
Any public comments on this item?
I have nothing on Zoom.
Seeing none. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve or accept the public improvement bond for the Ralston subdivision.
Second?
All right, I will call the roll. Corone?
Aye.
Roach?
Aye.
Cox-Deckard? Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks. Next up is a temporary lane closure request from Smithville on West 3rd Street, South College Avenue, and North Walnut Street.
Hi, this is Alex Gray from engineering. So there is actually a slight typo on the kind of the streets. It's actually supposed to be South Walnut. It is not supposed to be north.
Okay, that makes sense.
But again, this is going to be Smithville, and they're going to, I call it a temporary lane closure. It's kind of unique. They are going to essentially be hopping across the lanes, across 3rd and then across Walnut and College in sections, but it'll only be roughly like at a minute at a time, and it's so they can pull fiber across to get them up on the poles. So it sounds really strange, but in a sense, it's kind of like a lane closure, and that they're gonna move during the traffic signal lights when it's in kind of those stop portions, and then they will go from the alleyway across 3rd, and they'll have flaggers present to make sure that people don't, obviously hit any of their crew, but it's only gonna be a very short spurt while they get across, and then they'll go into the alley again. And they'll have some boring work that's gonna be in the alleyway, but primarily it's aerial, so. And the reason why I'm bringing it is because it is such a unique kind of occurrence that they are going to essentially stop traffic and then almost run across the lanes and then be on the other side.
Questions from the board? My only question was just to make sure that they're also coordinating with the project school with any kind of like dismissal times or anything that might be creating like extra, whether it's pedestrians kind of cutting through that space or extra traffic.
Right now, but I can make sure of that for sure.
Yeah, I think as long as they're aware of like those times, it sounds like the timing is everything in this project. They're going to work with the natural timing and the flow. So they can just be aware and maybe in communication with the project school to understand the timing of that. I just see that as being a slightly different type of traffic flow that they might experience in that particular area.
Yeah, I can make sure to have a note for that with the permit.
That's a great point, and also, it's April 15th to May 31, so I assume the project school will end for the summer at some point in there, so.
Yes, they will. We can make sure to get that contact information.
Great.
Full disclosure, I am on the board of directors for the project school.
That's why we keep looking and
I know.
we keep staring at you, like, tell us the answer.
Yes.
Thanks.
We can make sure that happens.
Any other questions on this item? Any public comment on this item?
I have nothing on Zoom.
Okay, seeing none. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the temporary lane closure request from Smithville on West 3rd Street, South College Avenue, and South Walnut Street.
Second?
All right, I will call the roll. Corone?
Aye.
Roach?
Aye.
Cox-Deckard, aye. Motion passes.
Thank you, James.
Thanks. Have a good night. All right, next up is reissuance of permit for West 17th Street from North Walnut Street to I-69 for AEG.
Yeah, I'm going to kick this off, and then Alex is here to support in any way that she can. But basically, this is a reissuance for the permit that was already issued previously by the Board of Public Works. The reason for the reissuance is that we did issue a stop work order to AEG on March 19th, 2024. And then we lifted that stop work order as of April 2nd. So as part of the stop work order, it does require the board to reissue the permit for the locations. So all of the concerns that were referenced in the stop work order, we've been addressing directly with AEG, their leadership team. And so we're satisfied with the responses that have been given, working with Andrew Seaboard, the engineering team, and others. Items of the improper use of right-of-way that were identified in the stop work order have been worked through and addressed with between both parties, and we're in a satisfactory place to ask that the board reissue this permit for this location, and we'll continue working closely with AEG and monitoring. But yeah, special thanks out to Alex and Andrew and all the team for working so closely with everyone to get our concerns alleviated, make sure everyone knew the importance of what was being addressed, both from the maintenance of traffic perspective, right-of-way access perspective, and communications mainly, making sure everyone's in good communication when issues do arise. So we're in a satisfactory place with it, and we ask your approval to reissue this permit for the area between I-69 and North Walnut Street in the vicinity of 17th Street. And if you have questions, I'm going to probably say, Alex, can you help me here?
All right, thanks. Questions from the board? I know before this stop work order was issued, the city was evaluating some of those violations. You kind of alluded to that, that there were some right-of-way violations that the city was working through. Have those violation notices been issued to them? Like they had them in their possession and they've been resolved in the manner that the city saw as appropriate?
So all notice of violations were issued directly to AEG as the permit holders for this, and we are working through negotiations on an outcome to those notice of violations and the fine amounts right now. I believe there is some general agreement where that will land, and City Legal and the engineering department will execute that final agreement.
And this order goes through what date?
What is the updated date on this, Alex? Do you know? It's gonna.
You mean in terms of like how long the permit is for.
Yeah.
Like now
Yes,
that
the
they've
new
started
permit.
again and we're refreshing the permit.
That, I know that they are planning on starting working on it pretty much as soon as they get it. They have been kind of bugging us. They're like, when is it? When is it? So I know that, and for clarity, and I kind of wrote it in there, it's for the Walnut to I-69, but in truth, all they have left in that section is some boring from the roundabout toward I-69, and then the rest of it is fiber pole. Fiber pole, they can actually get done within a couple days. The boring, it may take a couple days. So I would imagine just a couple weeks, but I can get more of a set date on their permit too.
Yeah, so our original permit was for a March 17th start date for 30 days, knowing we shut down the work on the 19th, only a couple days in. This will probably go, I would guess that this is up through May 1st or so.
Like a little less than 30,
Yeah.
like another 21
Yeah.
or something like that. Okay. And then this would be the only right-of-way use permit active for them right now, or there are others currently active?
Go ahead, Alex.
There is others currently active. In terms of the stop work order, this one was the only one that was revoked.
Okay.
And the reason is because that was one that we had all the issues on very much present, very much we were not getting the message, like the message didn't seem to get across. So we had to press the issue, and the response has now been got. In fact, so that I have actually met with them today on some of the other areas. They're working with us to move forward with areas that they still have permitting for. So, and then there will be new ones later, but these ones, they're just finishing up the ones they've had in the past. But this is the only one that was officially revoked. But the work order did say that they were not able to work in any of their areas, for clarification. So they were not allowed to work at all in the right-of-way, but we only revoked the one that had the major issues.
Okay, so they will start work again in
This area.
potentially, but so were they continuing work in the other areas, or they may potentially start work in the other areas as well at this point once we've resolved this?
They have they have worked a little bit on, you want to do it?
Yeah, so I think this will help clarify. So
Yeah, this might be
the stop work
clarification.
order on March 19th was for this permit specific, this specific location of their permitting. They were also asked to stop work in all locations of the city at that point in time, so we could address all the issues that came about. So they did have other active permits, and so when we rescinded the stop work order on April 2nd, they were able to then go back out into the other areas where they were still currently permitted to continue their work, and then this is to allow them back in the area where we actually issued the stop work order for geographically.
Very helpful.
There we go.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And as a note, before that they were allowed to actually go back to those areas, as part of the communication part is they had to meet with staff on site to ensure that they were actually setting up properly. And they have done that. And I actually, for example, today was one of the days I've done that ahead of some of the work zones, so. And that is something we would be implementing more and more as we go forward, just to ensure that we don't have any more issues. And they've been very receptive of that because it lets them catch things that, oh, hey, we didn't know this needed to be closed, or we didn't anticipate this kind of closure needing to be here, and we can work out those issues ahead of time. So maybe it's like, oh, well, we don't need to close the sidewalk, and we had thought initially, or we can find out solutions, so.
That sounds good. I would just make a note, like, as a board member, I would just be flagging the next time that one of these comes before us, that they do have those notices of violation resolved. So all the ones that are existing, this one I'm fine with, but I would want to know that that pending issue is completely resolved by the time we do another permit.
Everything's agreed to in principle. I think it's more getting signatures on
Okay.
Just signatures,
an
yes.
extended
Yeah.
agreement. But we wanted to make sure we were there as well.
Yeah, we didn't want to move forward. We didn't allow them to even start work again until we had gotten a very detailed plan.
That sounds good.
So for follow-up, after this particular section of 17th Street is complete to your satisfaction, can you just let the board know so we can follow up? Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be here next board meeting.
All right. Any public comment on this item?
I see nothing on Zoom.
Seeing none, is there a motion?
I move that we approve the reissuance of permit for West 17th Street from North Walnut Street to I-69 for AEG.
And I second. I will call the roll. Carone?
Aye.
Cox-Deckard, aye. Motion passes. Next is road and sidewalk closure request from Pavilion Properties at 401 South Woodlawn.
Hi there, Kyle Paul from Engineering. Pavilion Properties is requesting a road and sidewalk closure adjacent to the 401 South property location. The road closure itself will be in place from East Atwater to the east-west alley just south of Atwater. The sidewalk closure would be planned for the east side of the sidewalk, where they are going to be using that area to reconstruct the balcony and stairways for the outside of the apartments there. They have planned this work to start mid-May and end early June. They've posted notices for adjacent properties with contact information that note the scope of work and the closure durations. City staff met with the city engineer to go over this maintenance of traffic plan after I met out on site with the contractor and the applicant to determine what the best type of closure would be here. Originally, we were thinking a lane closure, but due to the proximity to the intersection of Atwater, we all came to the conclusion that it would probably be safest for all if we just went ahead and closed that segment of road. There's still going to be access via the north, south, and east-west alleyways to traverse those immediately adjacent properties if needed. Happy to answer any questions. I believe our applicants are in the room here. If we have any detailed questions for them, I'm sure they'd be happy to answer.
Thank you.
If I'm thinking about the right location, across Woodlawn is part of the IU optometry building. Access to that building and making sure IU is in the loop if that road closure is complete?
Yeah, we can make sure they get notice. They did want to plan this work specifically around school being let out,
Right.
but we can definitely add that notice into part of the part of the permit.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this item? Any public comment on this item?
I see nothing on Zoom.
Seeing none, is there a motion?
I move that we approve the road and sidewalk closure request from Pavilion Properties at 401 South Woodlawn.
And I second. I will call the roll. Carone?
Aye.
Cox-Deckard, aye. Motion passes. Next up is lane closure request from Duke Energy on South Woods Bend.
Kyle Ball from Engineering again. Duke Energy is requesting a 25-day lane closure on Woods Edge Bend. Woods Edge Bend. It's a lot of words. For equipment replacement and underground cable installation planned for May 5th through May 31st. It's near the Heatherwood neighborhood, if that helps. It took me a
Yeah,
minute.
that does help. I was trying to get my sense of things here.
So resident access to their homes along that bend will still be,
Yeah, we'll write it into the permit that those will have to be maintained at all times.
okay, and residents in the area obviously will be notified ahead of time?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
And also, I would imagine maybe this area is functioning off of like school bus stops as opposed to individual residential pickup, but just wondering if MCCSD will still be in session for another, like, 2 weeks or something like
Yeah,
that
getting
during
into that
this
period.
time. So making sure that any kind of school bus access is functioning.
Yep, absolutely.
And this is regular work hours. This is not like work that's happening
yeah.
in the overnight or anything like
Yeah,
that.
these would be daily closures.
So the lanes will be fully open then for residents in the off hours?
Yes.
Okay.
And there's like an extra sheet, right-of-way permit application sheet in the packet. I just want to make sure, it looks like most of the information is captured on the first sheet. But then there was this one that has a start date of May 6th, but no end date and really not much other information other than just the street name. I just wanted to make sure that.
That might be the new digital system we're having them fill stuff out on. They may have not gotten the first one correctly, but
Okay.
yeah, it's definitely the first one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure there wasn't a secondary request that we needed to get all the details on.
Yeah, for transparency, we're moving to an online-only application system. So we don't have the paper application that receives the signatures that we typically submit with the materials packet. So April and I were trying to get creative as to what to include. So I believe that was the permit in process, if you will.
That makes sense. Any other questions? Any public comment on this item?
I have no comment on Zoom.
All right, seeing none. Is there a motion? And I did notice we need to add that word edge
Edge, yep.
into the, yeah.
Yep. I move to approve the lane closure request from Duke Energy on South Woods Edge Bend.
I second. I will call the roll. Crone?
Aye.
Cox-Deckard, aye. Motion passes. Next up is contract with CE Solutions for repairs at the Walnut Street Garage.
Yep, Adam Wason, Public Works Director, on behalf of Jess Goodman and the Parking Services Division. So this is a contract in the amount not to exceed $50,500 with CE Solution. You're probably familiar with CE Solutions by this point, but they are an engineering firm that has been our main partner in engineering services for our parking facilities. This is somewhere they have great expertise in. So we have asked them to work up a scope of work. I won't go into all the details about some of these things that I won't truly understand, but they're working on mostly this is for the Walnut Street Garage to do investigations on waterproofing, structural repairs, exterior repairs, et cetera. So comprehensive kind of review of some of the structural and maintenance type repairs that we need for the Walnut Street Garage. They'll do everything from the initial investigations all the way to the drawings and the specifications that would actually go out to bid. So this is kind of an all-in-one package for them to assist us with a maintenance package of projects for the Walnut Street Garage.
Thank you. Questions on this? Any public comment on this item?
I have nothing on Zoom.
Okay, seeing none. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the contract with CE Solutions for repairs at the Walnut Street Garage.
And I second. I will call the roll. Crone?
Aye.
Cox-Deckard, aye. Motion passes. Next up is staff reports and other business.
Just as way of staff report, yesterday was a pretty amazing day in Bloomington with the solar eclipse. Public Works was fully ready for all needs yesterday, and happy to report no major incidents, no major responses required from Public Works. We had a lot of prep that went into yesterday, but overall saw it to be a great day in Bloomington. I don't think we saw the total expected crowds that some talked about that could converge on Bloomington, but those that did, Switchyard Park was full and looked like a great time. I was down there early in the afternoon. Downtown really picked up, et cetera, throughout the day. So great day representing Bloomington, and overall, really awesome event. I know I was in awe at 3:04 p.m. yesterday for about 4 minutes, so I hope everybody else got to enjoy that as well.
4 minutes and 4 seconds,
Oh,
to
dang
be
it.
precise.
I did ask my kids, I don't even see the moon. Where's the moon? Haha. That's all.
Thank you.
Strike the last part from the minutes, please.
Next up is approval of claims. Are there any?
Actually, one more thing,
Oh, yeah.
staff report-wise,
No,
I
go
forgot
ahead.
to mention.
Yeah.
For those that are interested, please join us at the Buskirk Chumley Theater this evening for Mayor Thompson's first State of the City address. That'll start at 7:30 p.m., or 7 p.m., doors open at 6:30 p.m. So hustle on over from here.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks. All right. Any questions on the claims? Okay. Do we have any public comments on claims?
I have no comment on Zoom.
All right, seeing none. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve claims tonight in the amount of $1,620,847.08.
And I second. I will call the roll. Crone?
Aye.
Cox Deckard, aye. Motion passes. And if there is nothing else, I will call for adjournment.